All right, so I think we are live now. Um, I'm not absolutely certain yet, but yeah, I believe we are live. And if we are live, I've got myself and Eric on the line. Let me. If we are live, can anyone sort of let us know and say something? Okay, so Jacob has commented that we are live. All right, so welcome, Eric, man. I am excited to have you on. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you on here. Good to see you on here as well, Jacob. So Eric had made some big boss moves in the first few weeks of really being a part of this program. He has a sort of unique experience for some of the students in that he happened to be working on, some sort of a call center answering solution for himself when he found out that I was releasing this course. So it ended up being a really good fit for him. And welcome, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, man. So, we're still in the beta, so I certainly apologize for the timing here. This is my first time using my own Zoom account to set up a live video on Facebook. I didn't even know it was a thing until a couple weeks ago. So now I figured out, and going forward, we won't have that issue. But so as far as you, Eric, I guess I want to give a little precursor. I'll ask you some questions, you answer some questions, and then we'll go into the standard Q&A that we've been doing each week so that people's general questions are answered. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So, yeah, I guess the first thing is, what made you interested in starting like a call center or virtual receptionist type company?
So I had been in professional selling for 10 years. And the later part of that was me as a business development person. So for those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically somebody that sits on the phone and cold calls all day. The difference was I was a contractor, so I wasn't an employee to business ABC. I had 10 of those in my portfolio.
Mm.
The thing that got me interested in a call center, more specifically an answering service, was if I was making a call on behalf of one of my clients and for whatever reason that customer ended up calling back and we missed that call, that was a missed opportunity for us. So I began to look into how we could fix that problem, and I ended up with, what, let's hire a receptionist that is sales focused.
Nice. Nice. Well, cool. Yeah. I think it was somewhat similar for me, right? We had a cleaning company. We got to the point that we needed to have our calls answered, and so it was like an organic need came up for us, and so we ended up doing it. So tell me a little bit about your experience. I know you've landed a few clients at this point. What was it like, sort of going after your first client?
Well, I think I talked to you a little bit about this offline, but
Mhm.
just to reiterate, I always have the mentality when I'm starting something new that I'm broke and I need to fix that immediately. So I will push myself to extreme measures to make sure that, we are profitable pretty quickly. So, um, you know what? I just picked up the phone and targeted exactly the profile of business owners that it talks about in the course. And the first guy I spoke to was actually a tax planner who he has a seasonal business. So from say now till April, he's super busy.
Mm.
But then after that, he might feel something like 6 to 12 calls a week, and so it didn't make sense for him to have a full-time receptionist.
Hmm.
Took him out to coffee, and signed him up on the spot.
Awesome. Awesome. And so when you say you signed them up on the spot, what exactly did that entail?
Well, so good question. By this time, I don't have a website. It's really just a G Suite account with my business's name on it. And
Right.
so, you're sort of going out on a limb to say, hey, I know that we're a startup, but are you going to try us? So basically, I asked if he would commit to 3 months with me while I sort of worked out the kinks, and there would be no obligation. Fully well knowing that on the back end, we do everything to try to, go above and beyond to keep him on for those 3 months and beyond, right?
Right. Right. Julio, welcome to the call, man. That's absolutely brilliant. So there's a few things that Eric did here, conceptually. The first thing he did was he made sure that he targeted people that from the core content he knew were going to be good target for this type of company, right? So he didn't try to reinvent the wheel in that sense. He just went to industries that, just from my experience, really have been proven to be good targeted leads. From the CPA standpoint, the guy mentioned that he had a pain point, which was he's busy during certain months, but outside of those months, it's really difficult, almost maybe impossible to justify having a full-time employee. And so it ended up being sort of an automatic fit, right? And so Eric put himself in front of that, well-targeted prospect, brought out an obvious pain point, and put himself in a situation where he asked for the close in a way that one would get the client committed, not just for 1 month, but multiple months, which is really freaking smart. And then two, in a way that gives some level of expectation. So he sets expectation as to the type of service that's going to be provided over the next few months as Eric is getting his company more put together. So I thought that was really smart, and kudos for that, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, like, the one thing I'll tell the group is when you put your name on the line and you're committing to a local business owner, especially when you're starting out, that means a lot. So don't discredit that when you're starting out.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure that when you landed that first person, it felt really validating for you.
Oh, definitely, because like I said, it takes some of the pressure off, but it's still a challenge. Because how do you go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, et cetera, right? So.
Right. Now, you messaged me the other day saying that you've gotten to 5 clients, which that may be even more surprised. And again, really kudos for you taking that type of action. A lot of people, they make sure everything's perfect before they try to go after any client. So what you're doing, it seems like just the MVP method. Just do exactly what you need to set yourself up to put yourself in front of potential clients and then go after them. So how did you go about landing your second plus client?
Yeah, so after that, like as a salesperson, you quickly try to determine efficiencies. And all I mean by that is who else has this pain point and where do I find them? It's sort of like fishing. Um, so from there, I just looked at a meetup group, and it just so happened that in my city, there was a meetup group of small, medium business owners who had seasonal businesses, right?
Right.
So I reached out to the administrator and just said, hey, I'm willing to offer this to the group, but on another level, I'd like to talk to your members one by one, if that's okay. And she said, as long as it's providing value, I don't see any problem with that. And so I just got to prospect one by one, and some of those people ended up signing up from there.
Awesome. That's really awesome. So, what's an example maybe of how you broke the subject with one of those people?
Well, because I already had one of those people from, you know, the first customer, it was really easy to say, "Hey, John Doe signed up. I'm just wondering if you have the same issue," right? And
Right.
some people will tell you no, you just have to accept that a no is a no, right? But 2, 3, and 4 ended up saying yes. So
Awesome. Okay, so that's absolutely brilliant. I'm really freaking, that's awesome. So essentially, what you did here was you found a situation that was an obvious fit. The guy signed up. And then, in a way, you sort of like name dropped it, right? You're like, this is someone that is just like you. And, he signed up with me. And that's your little bit of social proof that you can provide right there, right? And you ask if they're in the same situation. If they're in a situation, why not give you a try, right?
exactly.
And so, from the people that you've landed, what had that meant in terms of revenue for you?
So again, we're in the 4 figures a month right now. Um, if you use the revenue calculator and work backwards, my pricing is very similar to what you'd see at, you know, Abby Connect or Vicky Virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we're about at I'd have to double check, but it's around $2,300 or something.
Around how much?
2,300.
2,300.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had $2,300 in revenue, and you still haven't finished the website yet.
Well, funny story. So the website crashed. So we're actually rebuilding that right now. So technically, no, it's not live. You cannot view it.
Okay. All right. So you had something going, it crashed, and you're sort of working on that. And yeah, you didn't shut down your business, and you're still making it in. So that's absolutely awesome, man. That's awesome. That's I really I'm sort of speechless because this is early in the beta session, and you never necessarily know how people are going to sort of make this their own, and then also follow the steps, right? Um, and so it's really awesome that you're doing it. Now, what is the name of your company again?
Answer phone. Tried to keep it simple.
All right. So he kept it simple, right? Some of you are going to be worried about, oh, what am I going to name my company? It got to be something that's catchy and like trendy. No, this guy kept it real simple. And, I actually personally, I used to worry about having my name be too simple. But nowadays, when you look in reality at some of the largest companies out there, how many times do you see these large companies with generic names? Right. So I think everything you're doing is really solid, man. So, what type of, vision do you have for the next 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months. So a personal milestone for me. I don't know where everybody is in the group yet, but one of the things we talk about is agent grouping, and that's just if we can have a group of agents that focus on this segment, whether it's for me, tax planners or lawyers or whatever you end up dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
If I have 5 agents and then look to having a supervisor or operations person managing those people, that'd be huge in the next 6 months. And then really beyond that, just scaling. There was an insurance broker that came to me, and what he said was he had 3 locations, and he would have had to have a receptionist for every single location, and my service saved him from that burden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes a
Um,
lot of sense.
yeah, so just getting out there and figuring out those little things that you didn't know going into it for me are really going to be huge, 6 months and beyond.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, I think a lot of people, when it comes to any type of company whatsoever, even when I'm launching something new, it's always a little scary. One of the hardest things for a lot of companies is, how do you get clients? What's client acquisition going to be like? But again, virtual receptionists are simply something most people don't know about, right? So, the people that you talk to, were they familiar with what virtual receptionists were?
No, had no idea what that meant. In fact, I think it was the second guy that signed up. He came to me and said, "So, is this a robot you're selling me or what?" And I had to step back a little bit and, chuckled and said, "No, these are real people. They're just not local to me and you." Um, so
Yeah.
it's a new concept, and I want everybody to keep that in mind. as they go forward in their business, right? Not everybody's privy to what we're doing.
Right. And so in our personal experience, right, the way it worked for us was the extent of our marketing efforts was we need to let people know what we do as a concept. And then once they know what we do, they tend to be really excited about it, usually excited about the fact that it's something that's even possible. And once they know it's possible, it's like, oh yeah, heck yeah, this is a great fit. So I'm assuming, you know, that's sort of what you've been experiencing.
Absolutely. I mean, you are proof. If anybody's doubting themselves right now, just look at Vicky Virtual and the amazing things that they've done. And if you can do a quarter of that, you are extremely successful. So.
All right. Well, so that's awesome. Now, Jonathan, and again, good work, man. I really can't give you enough credit in terms of, you know, really being a first mover, one of the first movers on this type of thing. I really like your method. Really effective and simple enough for anyone to do, right? So Jonathan had a quick question. Are you providing a service now, or do you just have client committed to specific packages?
No, these people have paid me.
So they paid you, you know, and how are they being serviced right now?
Sorry, I don't know if I follow the question.
How are you fulfilling the service for them? Are you taking the calls yourself? Or?
Yeah, it's actually me fielding the calls right now. I have a few ads out to find receptionists, but in the interim, I think, Don, you might have touched on this. If you didn't, I'll mention it here. I thought it was just a good idea to learn the actual phone system. And there's some things that you won't figure out until you actually do it. And nothing's better than trial by fire. So no, these are paid and I'm actually fielding them.
Right. Okay. So great. Like the nice thing about, you know, Eric being on the phone right now, taking the call, is that one, it keeps his cost tremendously low, right? He's able to sort of capture the majority of that revenue for himself because he has a smaller, well, really no payroll except for himself. And then two, you know, as he goes into looking for agents, which he's doing at this point, now you already have that revenue coming in that one is validating, and two gives you that easier runway to pay those agents once they're hired.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just a story of hustling. I'm really proud of that. Now, what was another thing you said earlier about, you know, in 6 months you wanted to be at about 5 agents and an ops manager. Now, at that size, typically you're at around 60 to 70 clients, right? Now, at about the 60 client mark or 70 client mark, you will be at what is considered a full-time income for most people. So, you know, based off of you being able to land 5 clients really in a matter of what, like a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yep.
Yeah. So at that pace, with you currently answering the phone, you could get to that. And I really see that happening. There was something else that I was going to ask you that I can't remember right now, but are there any other questions at the moment about what Eric is doing? Okay, so nothing at the moment. Was there anything that was surprising to you, Eric, in terms of your process so far?
Again, it's great to have the course, and it's awesome to have the ride along. I think your motivation, your individual motivation, is gonna separate your success, right? So when my website crashed, for example, it was something stupid that I did on my end that we don't have to talk about here, but it was just, it was that trial by fire type stuff, right? So there's going to be setbacks that you just can't forecast until you really, really get into it. And for me, it was putting revenue first to really figure everything else out after that.
Right. So what I just remembered what you said earlier, which is, again, trial by fire there's a few things about utilizing the phone system that you just don't necessarily know until you start using it.
Right.
And I fully agree with that. Now, there is some benefit to taking calls yourself, especially if you don't have any receptionist sort of experience. It'll make it a little bit easier to train. However, it's not a requirement. You can just stick to the call scoring criteria. And then if you have sort of a baseline understanding of how a call should be handled by following the call scoring criteria, should be okay. The other thing is there are going to be times where the system has maybe some type of quirk, or maybe you'll notice some type of workflow that the agent is going through. And the best way to figure out what the workflow is to go through, even like in a testing environment, to go through, taking a few calls yourself, even if it's just testing, to get a feeling of what the workflow is like, so it's easier for your agent. So,
absolutely.
So Jonathan also asked, how many calls are coming in per day, roughly?
On average, I see anywhere from 17 to, I don't know, I think I fielded like 34 one day. The thing to keep in mind too, I noticed that on Fridays it drops off significantly, and the bulk of the calls seem to come in on Tuesday, Thursdays between 11 and 1.
That is completely correct. If anyone were to ask me whether Eric was legit on this, that is a very correct answer. It does drop off on Friday. My guess is, people are just sort of winding down. They don't want to do too much anymore. At the end of the day, we're taking calls on behalf of businesses. And so a lot of people don't try to call their CPA firm or their insurance company on a Friday. They tend to try to get that stuff done earlier in the week. And they also tend to get it done during their lunch breaks. So they'll call in during that 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sort of lunch period. Okay, so the 34 calls, like on a day that you took 34 calls, and now it's just you yourself.
Right.
Did it feel like there was a lot of calls?
It didn't feel like it was a lot of calls. What it did for me though was just validate our service, right? You gotta keep in mind that I'm still a one-man operation aside from, random VAs that I've hired off of Upwork and stuff like that. So it was really neat to see and interact with different businesses on that day. So yeah. One
beautiful benefit that you'll get from this that I didn't even realize until really just sort of in hindsight over the years is that because you're working with all businesses, business to business service, and because just about every single business you work with, you're providing a lot of value to, and they're usually small businesses, you end up establishing a relationship with a lot of the owners. So nobody knows this. I just figured this out like 3 or 4 days ago. Not only was the very first cold call I made on behalf of Vicky Virtual, the guys that ended up buying Companion Maids, which was a cleaning company I had, the very first client to sign up for Vicky Virtual, like literally the first one, day one when we launched the company, maybe I think 20 minutes after we posted that we're live, this guy signed up. He's the guy that bought Vicky Virtual.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until literally 3 or 4 days ago. So, you establish these relationships and big things can come out of it. So I think you'll find that to be a pretty awesome benefit.
I look forward to that for sure.
Yeah. So, the final thing here is, we're sort of running a bit short on time, and unfortunately we got a later start today. Did anyone have any additional questions for Eric at the moment? I think I'll probably, Eric, do you have till like say 8 p.m.?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we can keep it going a little bit. So let's see. So you taking calls. So again, right now you're sitting at over $2,000 in revenue and you're one person, right? So what we typically recommend is two people so that you've got two full-time people and then they overlap to take care of all the coverage hours. What are your current coverage hours at?
So I opted to go from 8 to 5 in my area. It was the easiest way to capture everybody that's doing business in those hours. And keep in mind that my clients are typically operating in those hours as well.
Right.
As we grow, I'm sure it'll change, but just to get the ball rolling, to get my feet wet, to keep on track, that's what I ended up doing.
So that's smart. Okay. So all of your clients are, local to you.
Right.
So they presumably, of course, have the same area code. Now, our service in general, you're going to find a lot of our clients are like, sort of professional industry type folks. And so, yeah, their service in 8 to 5. So, generally what we suggest if you're going outside of local in particular is covering all the time zones in the US, the normal one from 8 to 5, which really makes it 7 a.m. Central to 7 p.m. Central. But if you're smart like Eric is, and you're only one person, right? Again, minimum viable product. You're sticking to people that are in the same time zone, so you don't have to cover the other time zones right now. So absolutely brilliant. Okay, so at over $2,000 in revenue and still being able to, handle those calls, again, that sort of proved the model a bit there, right? Do you think that you could be in a situation, especially if you didn't have any marketing, if you were purely just doing receptionist services only, and it was just you taking the phone calls and you had nothing else to do you think you could handle double the volume you're taking right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. For those who don't know, I do operate another business simultaneous to this. I'm sort of limited, hence why I'm hiring for a receptionist right now. But definitely the volume and the potential is there. The nice thing about the course is it rolls out infrastructure for you to scale pretty quickly. So you don't have to really worry about, oh, I need a different phone system because I'm going to 10 clients now, or whatever the case might be.
Right. So the nice thing is that Eric sort of proved that the typical agent can handle, over $4,000 worth of revenue per agent, right? And so what happens there is, if your agents are taking what I put in as about $4,500 a month in revenue, and your agent all-in cost is like $2,500 or less, then, and this is including the phone system, the software associated with that agent, all you have on top of that is your fixed business expenses. But basically, there's a profit line of $2,000 per month per agent. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's if you're pricing your certain way. So that's what it comes down to, man. I think that's what it comes down to. I think I can't really think of anything else right now. I'm trying to think if there's any other question for you. I was wondering whether we needed to stay on till 8, but it might not be necessary. Do you have any final thoughts for now in terms of, what advice you would give to people that are considering getting into the business?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd just like to thank you so much for the help and the guidance, and I'm really humbled that you'd have me on the group to talk to everybody. The one thing I'll close out with is, and this course really provides you everything that you need to be successful. There is absolutely no need to reinvent anything. You can figure out everything that you need to do right here in the course and the group of people we got. So don't overcomplicate things. Nothing is going to be perfect. Things are going to fail and break and pop up that you can't predict or expect. You have to just sort of roll with the punches. But I promise you, it is totally worth it once you get rolling, and everything you need to get started is in this course.
Awesome. Awesome. You know what? There was another question from Jacob. Any price resistance with those first few clients?
So Jacob, just to answer your question, I intentionally priced myself a little bit higher, knowing that I'm sort of robbing my first business to of time to go into the second business, and I told people that up front. And so to make it work, I just said, look, it's going to be a little bit expensive right now. But as we scale, hopefully the price will come down, and just know that I'm putting in all my effort and time up front. And I think people appreciated that upfront honesty. So, they just kind of went with it.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So you literally were transparent, and you were able to charge a little bit of a higher price. And did the other sort of thing was there any resistance though in terms of, well, I don't know if that's something I want to pay or that type of thing?
No, not really, because I positioned it as, you'd probably end up spending around $25,000 a year on a full-time receptionist, right? So if I come in at $450 and say, worst case scenario, you stayed on with 12 months, we're not anywhere near that number. And so once you break down the math and back it by the value that you provide, people generally don't, balk at the price you're charging. The price objection is only a real thing in absence of value, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, fully agree with that, man. And honestly, a lot of times when people hire receptionists, it ends up being more than $25,000 if they hire them on as a W-2 employee. I don't know how bad it is in Texas because I know you don't have to pay workers' comp. It's a pretty business-friendly state. But, say you're paying $15 an hour to a receptionist, that's $30,000 before you deal with any types of expenses on top of that. So maybe if you're paying $10 an hour, you might, if you're lucky, end up somewhere around $25,000. And then again, you're dealing with sick time and vacations and that type of stuff. So, the value certainly there is certainly going to be a lot less expensive. So, again, I can't really stress it enough. For a lot of people, it's going to be a no-brainer as long as they understand exactly what they're getting.
Well, and just to back your point, like where I am, we calculate payroll expenses using a term called burden. And burden is just, the taxes, the payroll costs, sick time, et cetera, ends up being an extra 5% on top of whatever you pay them. So if you pay them $25,000, you take that times 1.05, you get the true cost of that employee. And 5%? You're right, it blows right past 30,000.
That's amazing that it's only 5%. Wow. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's pretty convenient. All right. So again, Eric, I really appreciate you being on here. And this was very helpful. A lot of the questions that you answered just now, I didn't know the answer to them. We haven't talked before very specifically about this, so this was very eye-opening for me as well. So it was really an honor to have you on here, and I'm glad that you are a part of the community.
Absolutely. Again, thank you guys for having me. Don, thank you for sharing the platform, and hopefully I provided some value to everybody tonight.
All right, so that's all for tonight. We're going to be doing another call next week. I'm not sure if we'll have a different guest on next week, but we'll certainly be doing another Q&A. And certainly in the future, we'll have more students come on as people start to progress more and things start happening. So again, Eric, thanks a lot, and have a good rest of the night. I'll see you on the next call.
Have a good night, everybody.